We're going to jump right into our analysis today with the Murdaugh trial. Alex Murdaugh now off the stand after being questioned not only by defense attorneys but the prosecution as well. Trial attorney Carl B. Grant with us. Carl, we want to go through as much of this testimony as we can today. Let's just start with the mic drop moment. I think that's what Billy called it when we spoke earlier, where Creighton Waters really kind of made his point to the jury. I won't spoil it for everyone watching now in case you didn't see it earlier. Let's just go ahead and take a listen.
At that point in time, SLED was not there. No one had gotten GSR from you. Your law partners or Sheriff Hill were not there.
That's correct.
No one had asked you about your relationships. David Owen was not there.
That's correct.
All those reasons that you just gave this jury about the most important part of your testimony was a lie too. Isn't that true, Mr. Murdaugh?
I disagree with that.
Nothing further.
What was your assessment of that moment? I mean, because he's been telling the jury all along that he's been lying because of his distrust of SLED, but then they played the video. I mean, he's been confronting him with video evidence all day that contradicts what he's saying on the stand.
SLED wasn't even in the game yet.
No,
they were not there.
And he started giving some of these excuses and telling lies, basically trying to establish an alibi.
That's exactly why you don't want your client to testify. Because what happens if he's on the witness stand and get caught in a lie right in front of the jury when his truth and his veracity is the most important thing? And if he's get caught in a lie before the jury, that could be very detrimental, if not the end of his defense.
Something Alex Murdaugh had also said on the stand was that his dogs, you know, they made noise, they fuzzed, they had a bird. He said it was silly to describe it as a guard bird, but he also came back today and said this about the response from the dogs the night of the killings.
Let me ask you this, were the dogs barking and carrying on or going out into the woods or acting like they sensed somebody was around that they didn't know?
Were the dogs acting like there was somebody around that they didn't know?
Yeah, like dogs do.
No.
No, they weren't.
There was nobody around that the dogs didn't know.
Okay.
Of that soundbite was that he said they were not acting like there was someone else around. There was no one else there for them to detect. Is this another red flag for Alex Murdaugh taking the stand? Because he's basically saying there was no one else out there except me.
Right, and that's another piece of circumstantial evidence that the dogs didn't bark. We know how dogs normally react, as indicated in the cross-examination, but that's all circumstantial evidence. Does it hurt him that he said the dogs normally bark when a stranger comes around, yet the dogs were barking this time? Absolutely it does. Okay, so that's again why you don't want to get on the stand, because he may say something that the jury can say, well, wait a minute, that does not comport with him telling the truth, and that's the problem here.
Well, and Carl, you know, he talked a lot about his paranoia, and for me, at least as an observer, it comes down to just the common sense factor. Is he expecting the jury to believe that because of this overwhelming paranoia that he could not overcome that night while talking to investigators, that he lied, but in other critical moments, he was very salient and could remember precisely what happened and what was said and what he did?
That's problematic. And here's the other thing. I've been thinking about this. Imagine the psychology of, I'm telling the jury I want you to believe me because I am an admitted liar on everything else. Think about that. You must trust what I'm saying because I'm admitting to you that I'm a liar and I've lied to so many different people, and I'm admitting that, therefore that should impute credibility to me because I'm an admitted liar. That's a heck of a psychology.
Yeah, that's a high burden, a high hurdle to cross.
Absolutely. And then let's talk about his body language. There are several clips circulating where viewers have noticed that when Alex Murdaugh was being asked directly by Jim Griffin, did you kill your wife and son? He's verbally saying no, but he's shaking his head yes. What about the coaching that goes into preparing your witness to testify or your client to testify, even though we know that the defense said that they did not agree with him taking the stand?
Well, again, that's body language experts, people who make that kind of analysis. How does someone react in a situation like that? How is their body language responding to? Is it consistent with what they're saying with their mouth? And if you're saying no, but you're shaking your head. Yes, I've seen that before in arguments. But again, you can't necessarily say that that's the end-all, be-all of the case, but it's something to consider.
One of the important factors. So, Carl, we have about a minute left.
Yeah.
What should we expect next week? We've learned from our reporters that I think about 4 witnesses are still expected. Then the prosecution's rebuttal case. Also, the defense has not rested. So can they call Alex Murdaugh again? And what's your guesstimate about when this could go to the jury?
They're not going to be able to, they're not going to call him again, and they'll not be allowed to call him again. His testimony is over. I thought I heard them say that they may have 4 witnesses who may be relatively short, and they will finish them maybe early afternoon on Monday. And then, of course, at that point, the reply case would be presented by the prosecution. I think I heard that they said they may have maybe 2-3 witnesses at most. That's normally not very long. So my anticipation is that this case will be before the jury. In other words, the charges being given by the judge, that's the law of the case, and the jury will probably get this case and start deliberating as early as Wednesday, and at the absolute latest, I would think Thursday.
And Carl, and when they go into deliberations, can you explain to our viewers what will happen if the jury can't come to a unanimous decision?
Oh, it would be a nightmare for everybody, because if there's a hung jury, that's what we call that. And I want to make sure it's understood. If only one juror says, I'm going to vote not guilty, and 11 says guilty, or vice versa, it has to be unanimous for guilt in order to convict, and unanimous for not guilty in order to acquit. Anything less than a unanimous verdict is a hung jury, and the prosecution has the right, if they want to try him all over again and start this entire process all over again.
And we cannot forget that we are down to 2 alternates going into this weekend and trying to get through what could be the last week of this trial.
And that could be problematic because, again, jurors have often, I've seen it with my own eyes, became ill or disabled for some reason even after the deliberation has started.
Wow.
All right.
All righty. Well, we will.
Analysis as always.
Absolutely. We will check back with Carl on Monday. Court resumes Monday at 9:30. Of course, you can watch the trial live on WISTV.com and here on WISTV. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.